This is our Streamline Pro 90K pump. We're going to go over the overview of it today, give you a little bit of idea how it works. I'll start down here with the motor. This one here is a 60 horse motor. We have a piston pump here. This produces the 3000 psi for the hydraulic cylinder up on top. It's a piston compensated pump. The pressure gauge. This is the high pressure control valve adjustment, clockwise to increase, counterclockwise to decrease. There's also a 2 pressure solenoid valve behind the manifold for your low pressure, where you can have 2 pressure settings at low and high. These are the compensators. The inside one is your high compensator. The outside one is your low compensator. This is your directional valve. It gets a signal through the proc switches back to the PLC to send oil to the one side of the cylinder or the other. The other pump we have is a recirculation pump. It produces the cooling of the oil and filtering of the oil through the heat exchanger and back through the filter. The other pump we have is the booster pump. It takes your city water pressure from 30 to 40 psi up to 120 psi. There's a pressure switch that shuts the machine down if it gets below 30, and there's a pressure switch that gets below 60, it will shut the machine down. Now we're going to discuss the low pressure water system, show you where the water comes in and how it goes through these components. We have the inlet water coming in through here, through a solenoid valve, through a manifold, which we have a 30 psi switch back here. It goes through there through a strainer. From the strainer it goes up to your booster pump. From your booster pump it goes up to your filter assembly. Through the filter assembly it goes to another manifold that has your 128 degree switch on it. If your booster pump overheats up to 128, you'll shut down. You have your 60 psi switch in the back side of the manifold. You also have a relief valve. If you overpressurize the booster pump over 125 psi, water is going to be bleeding through here out to the drain. The adjustment for the booster pump is on the acorn nut right here. Screwdriver slot, turn it clockwise to increase, counterclockwise to decrease. That's the low pressure side, and then from there, when your boosted water comes through these hoses in the back, that comes up here to your check valves for your sealing heads. This is where your water comes in to allow water to go into your cylinders on the suction stroke, on your pressure stroke. It goes out to your discharge side, to your check valve. This is all the hydraulic cylinder in here. This is a 38.5 to 1 ratio from hydraulic to water. We have the high pressure cylinders. We have the end cap. We have the sealing head assembly. The sealing head assembly contains the discharge check valve and your inlet check valve. Through there, it goes through your attenuator. This is the like a shock absorber of the high pressure water to take the shock out of the high pressure system so you don't crack tubes or break components. There's no maintenance work to be done inside the attenuator. We also have the proc switches up on top. It gets a signal from the piston. When the piston comes over it, hits a target, it sends a signal to your directional valve to shift it the other direction, back and forth. The components are the same on both sides. From the discharge line, we come out, we go down to the dump valve. When you hit the emergency dump, emergency stop, the dump valve will open up and allow water to flow out to the drain. This is your high pressure port where it comes out, goes out to your work cell. On the cooling water side, our water comes in through this port right here, through a valve, goes into our heat exchanger, and out to the drain. That's the water side. The oil side, the oil comes in from your recirc pump through the heat exchanger up to the filter assembly, and from the filter assembly it goes back in the reservoir. On your reservoir you have a temperature gauge You read the oil temperature here and the oil level there. You want to keep it between the red and the black, somewhere in between. On the oil filter, we have a indicator up here, a little yellow plunger. When it gets over into the red, that's indication you need to change your filter. Just a little bit on troubleshooting on this top works here. If you have a high pressure seal that's starting to leak, water is going to drip out of this weep hole underneath here. That would be for your high pressure seal. Or you could also have oil leaking under there, which would be your hydraulic seal cartridge. Typically, if oil is coming out of the stem right here, this slot underneath here, it would be the O-ring and backup ring inside of here. If water is leaking out the head nut over here, around this area, there's a good chance that maybe we didn't get these torqued properly, or we may not have the head nut, the seal head nut tight enough. We could have water dripping out of there also. These things need to be torqued in an even pattern. We'll get into that a little bit later on in the video, I think. But that's pretty much feel for heat. If anything's getting hot, that's indication that the problem is in that area. If this is getting really hot, the check valve in this area needs to be redone. If this area is getting hot, where your inlet comes in, it's your inlet check valve that could be need to be addressed. Also on our all of our intensifiers, since we sell them worldwide, comes with a variety of panels. This one must be going to Germany. They all contain the EStop. Before any work is done, you want to make sure you press the EStop. You don't want to do any maintenance work on anything on the high pressure system with the power on the panel. You have a key switch here for remote or local operation. When the key is to the left, it means you can start and control the pump from this panel. When the key is to the right, that means your remote control is taking over. You pull the EStop out, hit your reset button, and then you have a warning light. If you do have a problem, your red light will come on and flash. This is the pump running light. If everything is normal, that light will be on. Anytime the machine shuts down for any fault, when the light comes on solid, your display will give you a menu to choose from to let you know where the problem could be. Always also turn your disconnect off and do your lockout tagout procedures according to your local codes. This concludes our Streamline Pro tour. I hope you enjoyed our overview of it.